And it worked finally. I don't really have any of this planned out. It's kind of a jumble of things, so just gonna kind of flow with it. But the main topic that I'd like to talk about is street theater and in the gang stalking realm of TIs and all that. That's a term, but I mean it in a completely different way. About a week or so ago, I don't know how long it's been. I made a video that I obviously didn't want to make about things that I really didn't want to talk about, but I did the best that I could, trying to explain things as they unfolded, um, as uncomfortable as they were, because that's the way that it happened. And it wasn't till in hindsight that I really knew what was being portrayed, because that wasn't what was going on. Anyway, if you saw it, you get it. But obviously that was hard for me to do. Um, and no matter how negative that it may make me look, I felt led to, because there are those that are working for darkness. Anybody that has been in the targeted community, hopefully understand that. There's a lot that just think it's a government conspiracy, but if you read the government manuals about using uh, electronic weapons against their enemies, because that's the way the manual stated, then you have to understand that it's something spiritual. Because if they're using it on their own citizens, yet in the manual it talks about the enemy, then who is the enemy and what makes them the enemy? We're no longer talking about nation states, and this really isn't about the TI community here. I'm When I said street theater, my main goal here is to basically give a few more examples of how your life is the street theater. It doesn't have to be this targeted thing where you feel oppressed by people, or people walking up to you and saying things to you. Uh, Buddy Jeremiah Cohen has done some great videos. Some of them are a little bit shorter. That's a little more friendly to those that don't have the time to watch a bunch of live streams and stuff like that. But it's all great information, and I encourage you to go check it out. I'll leave a link. But a lot of these people that, when it first started, it was all scary and all that. God's opening up my eyes to all this stuff, this whole Mandela effect, quantum shifting, whatever. All those videos are out, and we just noticed that the world was vastly different. Scales had kind of been pulled off of our eyes a little bit, right? And there were things focused on fear. It was completely fear based to make us afraid and helpless. And um, if you're still around, you were obviously delivered from whatever situation that you were in. And so was I, as I broadcasted, all the different scenarios that I went through. But it's changed, and I knew that it would. It hasn't stopped. It's a lot friendlier, and the point that I'm trying to get at is that if you've noticed that all the people in your life that you care about, and you try and share things with them, especially about Christ, and they just don't seem to care, or they just go like, "Yeah, God's good," but you see in their fruits that there's not a real longing for that relationship with Christ. There's something there. I posted the video of the spiritual versus the physical, um, on Facebook, and a few people shared it, but a lot of the people, I'm not really a social media kind of guy. I hate it. I'm more of a face to face, but that's the only outlet that we have these days. Everything's so separated, and a lot of the people that normally communicate with me and like stuff and you know comment on anything that I'd ever post they just didn't. Good people, nice people, people that do nice things for me. And maybe they just didn't agree with what I said, because I was saying that I've seen angels before, and talking about something where someone wasn't looking at it spiritually, they'd just be like, he's insane. But there's a spirit on that, at least, that I was trying to give glory to God in something. It wasn't anything negative. I wasn't being persecuted against, but they're good people that do nice things for me in my life, kind of shunned away from doing anything. And I just find that interesting. Not that they were supposed to. I'm just saying it's interesting, and there's a spirit there. The main thing, I guess I'm just going to give the examples. Like I said, I didn't have any of this planned. I didn't know how I was going to do it. You do live in an absolutely spiritual world. We see them physically, but there's something, it's just something there that the world is not the way that we were indoctrinated to think that it is. And hopefully you understand that. I mentioned maybe a month or so ago. It might be longer than that, but anyway, I was riding into town with someone who was bringing me to go get some stuff for this little coasters, that arts and crafts and stuff, and we stopped at a daiquiri shop. I wanted to get a daiquiri, and I'd never seen the person that had opened the window before, but she surprisingly looked like this Madeline person. I mean, a lot like her. Almost. I'm not going to get into the specifics, because if you don't think that whoever it is that's working for our destruction, they check all this out. Everything that you do is, it's not, nothing is hidden from them either. But the person turned to me and said, "Is that her?" And I said, "Is that her what?" And then they just stopped, and their eyes got kind of big, and they stared forward, and they barely talked to me, the rest of the way, or they were very careful when they mentioned anything else the entire ride home. And I don't know that I know, but I encourage the person to check out my videos. When I first, began a fellowship with them, a friendship. And I don't know whether they did or not, but that was so early in the friendship. They would have had to have clicked on that exact video, like the moment that I mentioned it to them after they went home, because this was in those first few days. The point is that there are people, like I've said before, that have access to all information. That I don't know how it works, and I don't need to know. But the street theater is your life. That told me right then and there that they're looking forward to, and I already knew that. I knew that since the moment that I actually made that video about how I met the girl and how God told me that was a person that I was going to marry. I don't know why. I can only tell you that I know that that's the person that was made for me, to have a marriage with and a relationship with. And I don't know why it's so we're so separated in this season for this long, but I cannot deny God telling me that when he did. And being as lonely as I am, why would I pick one name specific? Anyway, I'm not getting into all that. I know that to be true. There was another instance where someone perceived me to be doing something that I wasn't, and rightfully so. I get how the situation looked like something that it wasn't, based on actions I had done in the past. And they looked at me and they gave me a warning. And they said, "If you do it again, they're going to get to you." And I said, "What?" And then utmost fear came upon this person. I didn't say that. I repeated what they said. They said, "I didn't say that." And they were just so terrified in a room of nothing. I mean, we were at a hospital. There was nobody there. The nurses were outside the room, and they kind of looked back in. But there's the obvious type, like when everything happened in the beginning, where that whole fear state and that street theater trying to provoke fear, and people that are actively working for darkness, for these things that I've said, that I've seen them hundreds of times communicating with, talking to stuff that wasn't there. and then trying to play it off. Some people are demonically possessed, and you can clearly see it because there's always that sinister look and that smirk, that evil. It's the same spirit. You see it wherever you go, at random people that you've never met in your life. But there's another one where, for whatever reason, again, I don't know why, but these people are underneath these powers and principalities of dark. Like, they can see them too, but it's based on fear. Like they take orders and they mostly stand out of the way. But when that person gave me that warning, I mean, I know that they saw them too. And I think they can see them as clear as day. It goes back to perception. As I've said before, usually just black shadowy figures or whatever, but I mean, just hundreds and hundreds of times I've seen mostly the people talking to nothing, but they were communicating. There was another person months back that I made a video about when I was doing all those drugs and everything, and this chick kind of wanted to hang out with me and fool around, drugs and sin, and and she was communicating with something else. She was talking to something and trying to keep it hidden. And I know that I haven't seen any evidence of that person being around anymore. It's not like they disappeared or like it's a missing person. It's like there's no more pictures or anything on Facebook. There was one picture uploaded, and I could tell it was an older one. And then I was contacted, and I had this long dialogue with this person on Facebook Messenger till I realized this is not that girl. This is not her. Like, that's not who she is. That's not how she would talk. Like, it was clear as day, almost as clear as it is when someone hits you up with a fake profile and they're trying to scam you out of money. But it wasn't about, there was no agenda here as far as like financial gain or a scam. Like, it just wasn't that person. And the same thing I mentioned has happened with my dad. I haven't seen, someone who was into video vlogs. I'm not vlogs, but was going to school for directing and posting on Facebook and posting on YouTube. And there are videos posted of old footage that was already there, but I've seen no pictures, no nothing. It's just, again, it goes back to the world doesn't work the way that we think it does. And I guess in that context, there was a consequence for something, and maybe that's what these people that are in this state of fear is about. They don't want to reach that point of whatever that is. I hope I'm making sense. I'm just, as painful as that other video was for me to make, I had to give the best example, even if it was the worst, of explaining someone talking to something else in the room, trying to make something appear the way that it wasn't. And things have happened like that, not to that extreme, not with any subject matter the same, but it's almost like the street theater is your life. Like, we are surrounded, and I've known that for a long time. If you watch all the targeting videos, we all kind of see that. There's a reason we're all separated, but none of this would happen, the separation, I mean, from other people, unless the Father ordained it. He's with us every step of the way. I feel just as lonely as all the others that really don't, have anyone to fellowship with. I'm not even going to get into that, but I was going out seeking fellowship, and I saw strange things in the establishment that I went to that I was just like, I don't know, I guess you could call that a trigger, but there was something not didn't sit right with my spirit, but I don't know what that is. I just keep seeking the Father. I'm not going down a rabbit hole of what that is. The enemy will be around every corner anyway. It's just, I don't know. It's one of those things that there has to be a reason that God has allowed us to be separated this way. Obviously, if you're seeing the fruits of the enemy, they will, it's people that do favors for you. I don't have a vehicle. I can't get to work without, the people that take the time to go out of their way to do nice things for me, to drive me down the road so I can make the money that I need to make. But some of these people, it's like they're taking orders, and I'm not gonna judge them and say that they're a part of the satanic kingdom, but from what I've seen, there isn't necessarily a freedom in their life to do whatever. Sure, you can pick, maybe you can't, but from what it looks like, you can pick what you eat. You can kind of pick where you work in general, but there are certain key points and places that they have to be a part and play a role in. And again, nice people. I love them, and I give love back to them. This is not about me judging them and talking about them. And I would encourage any of you, if you do see any of this going on in your life, to fight it with love. Because especially the ones that are afraid, they seem to be absolutely miserable from whatever that stuff is that's veiled over our eyes, that they don't want to be a part of it either. I really think that really dives into the excuse me, I'm trying to be careful here with my words. When those that are in the occult worship and give praise to Lucifer, it's obviously for a means. It's for for power and some other things, but it's also a false love. I don't know if I can put into words how clearly I can see that artificial love and those without natural affection and what it means. Like I don't know if I could put that into words, but I can see it clearly. Now, the ones that are afraid for whatever this is around us that we're not privy to, and thank God for it. It's one of those things with, I don't know, maybe they're not as dark and evil and willing to destroy as those that are seeking power or actively working for evil, but they're still in binded by these these chains of this system that I don't quite understand. I don't know. I don't want to keep rambling, and maybe this isn't the best job of it. I don't know, but I'm doing the best I can with trying to explain things that there's no real words for. I'm giving the best description that I can because I've seen it over and over and over and over. And the answer is obviously Jesus. That for some reason God picked my filthy sinner self, to have a freedom to not be in those lock and chains that some others are. Unfortunately, because they are slaves to whatever this system is, their job is to trip us up, even if they don't want to. And maybe not to the extreme of like actively. I see it there. We're given these choices, and then situations come up in front of us, and it's as if like Lucifer's main plan is just trying to get us to destroy ourselves. Present them with either temptation or an easier way out, and then allow them to reap what they sow, because that's what you said, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like a mockery of him trying to destroy. I just see it so clearly. He's throwing it back in the face of God. And yeah, I don't know. I hope all this made sense. I just see it over and over. And please pray for those people. I love them. Even the ones that were actively working to destroy me. It's a little bit harder, but I think it's that I didn't become aggressive in it, and I humbled myself because of mostly because of the terror, because I didn't know what to do, especially when it's family members and stuff like that acting in such a way that you just, you know what I mean? How do you fight that? And but to love on them as well, to give, absolutely have to, be discerning and be careful, and don't put yourself in positions that are dangerous. There have been positions where I've had to kind of, move away from certain people, just because I don't know, I felt it in my spirit again that there was something wrong there, and I just didn't need to. Um, I didn't need to be left alone with certain people, but I've also seen, whenever those that were secretly trying to work iniquity, I've said that before, and they looked over and saw someone else that I had never seen in my life. Well, I take that back. One time, someone, if it wasn't the same guy, they must have been like an older brother, right? They looked that close. Guy walked up to me when I was stressed out. I just went through something horrible, and in the middle of a Dollar General, and said, "Hey, I just want to. God told me to tell you that I forget. I don't want to misquote him. Something like it was going to be all right. I mean, it was a prophetic, encouraging word right then and there, exactly what I needed to hear. And he didn't say, I just got a word from the Holy Spirit. It wasn't. He just like, man, God wanted me to tell you. And he had never seen me in my life. This older fella in a Dollar General, and then something like told, you know what I mean? I was like, well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And something told me to shake his, like, you know what I mean? Obviously, you want to give somebody respect, but there was a strong, like, you need to, it was like laying hands on somebody whenever you're praying for him, but he was doing it for me. I really think that's another instance that it was an angel, and he was buying dog food. I don't know, but he did, dude, it was something supernatural. Again, you live in a spiritual world. But then when this other person was trying to work iniquity in my life, doing something that magic again. I told the story before. He looked over and saw the man walking just down the street in New Orleans, and he started shaking like he was terrified. So as alone as we do feel, I mean, the Father's not going to abandon us. I keep seeing something else there. The street theater is your life. It's just the way it is. That's the way that the enemy's working, and everything that we do, it's all watched. And like a still serpent, he's just waiting for a moment to strike, but presenting situations so that he can strike, and every weakness that we have. And that's why it's so important to read the word and just have that fellowship with God. I mean, maybe that's all that God wants is us to have that fellowship with him first, and not worry, about that with other people. It's great. It's lonely, not having that with another human being, but it's the only way that God can, really say, hold this conversation with me all the time. I was never as close to God as I was when I was living in that trailer, and all this crazy stuff was going on around me for months. And in everything that I did, every moment of everything was just a conversation with the Father, because of how afraid I was. And then it's like I'm in a desert now, but not that he's left me. But I'm just saying that, God delivered me from all that. I'm comfortable, but there's no real works here that I'm able to go out and do, just kind of sitting around on the weekend. And so I'm about to kind of not shut down my channel, but kind of get a little quieter, and try fasting and staying off of YouTube a little bit more. I read the Bible a lot. I have it read to me through YouTube, because I like to really sit there and just think about what's envision everything that's being said on there. But I think I need to spend a little bit more time with the Father and cast out all the distractions, because there's just something here that the not that it's changing the fruits of the Spirit, but there's longing for more, and there's this blockade around my life where I went out looking for fellowship, and the first thing that there was just something there that it's not that I ran, I didn't leave the place thinking I'm never going to go back there or anything like that, but it's just one of those things that God's like, I mean, you could, you could continue going here, but that's not the direction that I have planned for you. You know what I mean? So that was really the miss. I saw some things there, whatever. That's going to be everywhere. The enemy is all over the place. And so that's not why I left. It was just one of those things where God was like, hey, I mean, it'd be great. You can bless somebody, but it's not the direction that you're going to be going in. I have other plans for you. And, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of rambling at this point. The point is, I've seen, again, hundreds and hundreds of times, people in my life, friend and foe, speaking to stuff that wasn't there, trying to play it off like they weren't doing it. But at a certain point, you just like, it's kind of like the gang stalking thing. When you first get into it, you're like, oh, what is this? And then after hundreds and hundreds of times, you're just like, again, okay, you know what I mean? But some of them are actively working for and in love with darkness. And then others, they seem to be, they're either really good actors or they're in these chains. And it doesn't matter which one they are, because they both need prayer. One second. I titled the video Psalms 53 because, well, you're just going to have to look it up and read it. But there's one part in Psalms 51 that I was just kind of really meditating over. Psalms 51:12. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and uphold me with thy free spirit. Then will I teach transgressors thy ways, and sinners shall be converted unto thee. Yeah, it was 12 and 13. So anyway, man, I don't know. The point here is do not. It's not to judge them, and I'm just trying to make you aware of at least what's going on around me, because it could possibly be going on around you. But you don't treat iniquity with iniquity whenever you realize what it is, and that everything is connected in this whole thing. Then you just pray for them and shower them with love and treat them the way that Jesus would. So, yeah, maybe treating these people with love and praying over them, even if they don't realize that you're doing it, will make it a lot harder for those demons to work through them, because I can tell that a lot of them are afraid. Others are determined, but a lot of them are afraid. And I don't know what makes us different than them. I don't, I'm a filthy sinner just as much as anyone else. But for whatever reason, God picked us to do something. To not that we're the ones that are going to destroy the enemy. No one is righteous. We're not Jesus, but he is within us. So there's I can just see the people that don't want to be involved in what it is that they're doing. I can feel it. It's nothing that they do. It's the one thing that the enemy can't take away, is that One last example, and then I'll go. I was talking to someone about another family member, and this other person kind of treats me, just doesn't really like me. Puts up with me because they have to when I'm around at family functions and stuff like that. But I can tell that they're just waiting for something, and I feel it in my spirit. Not that it's gonna happen, but I can just clearly see it. And I looked over at this family member after they mentioned him, and I'm like, dude, they're never going to like me. They just put up with me, and they're gonna treat me that way until I die. And the look of heartache on this person's face, they were about to break into tears. Not because of not because of the relationship with the third party, but I think they can clearly see the way that the world treats me differently than everyone else, and why that product, that fruit that other person is uh, putting forth in the way that they treat me, because they don't have a real reason to dislike me. It has nothing to do with my personality. Again, the whole they get it. There's just anywhere you go, people treat you like that. But when it's a lot closer to home, and then I'm just looking at it like, why? You know what I mean? Oh, that's just the way I treat you. It doesn't even. They don't even know why they do it. They just don't. And it's like half of them, they think that we're holding them back from something. I don't know if, again, it's a spiritual thing. But the person that I said that to was heartbroken over it, because they just know. But the number one rule, they can't talk about it. They can't reveal anything. I think that says a lot. Why? I just haven't seen anything about my dad. Just haven't. No, nothing. And when things are revealed, there's something that I don't know. Anyway, I hope all this made sense. Maybe it wasn't the best, description, but I just know this to be true, and apply it to your life, and treat them with love, and show them the love of Christ. Above all else, love one another. God bless. Have a good day. Oh.